Hi everyone, Menachem Brodie here with you once again from Vortex Training, your certified and experienced USA cycling expert level coach and NSCA CSCS strength and conditioning coach. Today we're going to talk about training with power. What is intensity factor and why is it important to you in your training? If you have not yet watched our video on training stress score, I do recommend doing that first so you have a little bit of a more general idea of what your ride's impact are on your fitness. You can do that at the link up here. Now, today we're talking about intensity factor. What is intensity factor? What is if? You download your ride file, you're like, if what? If what? Why is it 0.0? Why is it 0 something? That's not good, is it? Is it bad? Is it good? I don't know. Intensity factor simply allows us to understand how much intensity, in accordance with your functional threshold power, did you normalize power average for your whole ride. Now, that normalized power section or part is very important. Normalized power is simply the average power you produced for the whole ride, taking out all of the drops or the zeros that you have. So it's as if you were pedaling the whole time, not stopping. So those of us who live in urban areas, we may see a fairly significant change or increase in our normalized power versus our average power. Now, in order to get normalized power, the section of ride has to be at least 5 minutes long. Don't worry about that for today. Now, when we're figuring out what your intensity factor is. Intensity factor was developed by Dr. Andy Kogan, to my knowledge. So he and Hunter Allen, who put together the Training Peaks WKO software, which is fantastic, especially the 4.0 update that they just did, came up with the idea of intensity factor. And intensity factor simply is your normalized power for your entire ride divided by your functional threshold power that's set currently. So what this means is your functional threshold power has a huge impact on what that intensity factor is going to be. So if you only do a field test once every 6 months, you may see your intensity factor numbers go over 1.0 for a ride, which is not that great. That tells us as soon as we see an intensity factor over 1 for any type of ride or race, for instance, a 40K time trial should be an intensity factor of 1.00 if you have your FTP set on point. There's a little bit of room for fluctuation within that. Let's say 1.01, 1.02. Once you get above 1.03, we actually want to look and see, is your FTP properly set? So we'll either take that steady state effort that you did for the time trial and use that as your new FTP number, or we'll go out and do a field test, again, to see what your FTP number is. However, as it relates to general training, intensity factor, when you upload your file into WKO, will actually has the overall time, distance, etc., and then it has IF, intensity factor. So let's break down these numbers so you understand what the heck it means and how to modulate and change your training so that you're actually getting stronger and not just pedaling to nowhere and not seeing fitness gains and getting frustrated. If you're getting an IF factor, intensity factor, of 0.75 or less, these are generally considered to be recovery rides or active recovery. So if you're going out on a group ride and you come back after 2.5 hours and you upload your power file and you see your intensity factor is 0.72, you really didn't do that much in that training ride in order to create the overall effect of building endurance. So this time of year, the fall, that means that you're missing the mark with your riding, which is really bad. That is not to say that within your ride that you're not getting hard efforts. Again, this is your normalized power, so that's your average power minus the zeros for your whole entire ride divided by your FTP. So if you did a long climb, a 45-minute climb and a 15-minute descent, and then you just kind of pedaled in the group for another hour, your intensity factor is going to be low even though you did this massive effort. Again, this is your intensity factor is the whole ride as a whole for today. We'll get into how to use it with efforts in a different video. So 0.75 or lower is considered active recovery. If you go 0.76 to 0.85, that's considered endurance. So you're getting enough training stress so that you're going to see an endurance effect on your training. So you're now building your endurance. If you're 0.86 to 0.95, we're talking about tempo ride. So that would be a fast group ride. And now here's where it gets tricky. 0.96 to 1.05 would be a threshold ride. So that means that you're over. Remember we said 1.00 is a 40K time trial. So This may be a shorter ride that's faster, maybe a 90-minute ride that you're really sitting in the group and really working. So that could be a 1.03, 1.04, and anything above a 1.05 would be considered a VO2 max. But really, again, we should not be seeing rides of length at that effort. If you're going out and hammering hills for 45 minutes, maybe you can do that. But anything over an hour or an hour and a half, you really should not see numbers over 1.00. If you are, and you open up your WKO or whatever software you're doing and you look and you see the intensity fact number, the if number is 1.25, you may not have set up your functional threshold power in that software. So you might have it on your head unit, on your Garmin or your Wahoo or your Leomo, but you didn't set it for the software. So that's really important. And this is where I see a lot of common email questions. Hey, my power numbers seem to be off when I upload them. I've seen your videos, can you help me? And they send me a screenshot. So I ask them, first thing, one, is your power meter calibrated? And most people don't know that they need to do that, but you should. And the second is, did you put in your functional threshold power into the software? And they go, well, why do I have to do that? I have the power meter on my bike. So it's really important if you're getting these weird numbers, the numbers don't seem to make sense with what I'm seeing here in that TSS video. You need to make sure you go back, one, calibrate your power meter. So I have the cork, I had a power tap before. So each power meter has a different way to calibrate it, but at least once a week, and if you're serious, preferably every single ride, you should be calibrating your power meter. The exception is the SRM power meter, which is the gold standard, generally gets calibrated once the battery is replaced. So once every year and a half, 2 years, depending on how many kilometers you're riding, because those batteries last forever. But that's the one exception. But the Garmin pedals, the Vector pedals, the Power Tap, the Cork, the Power 2 Max, all these others that you have out there, you need to calibrate them at least once a week, if not more. Here in the fall and in the winter, if you're taking your bike from inside to outside and then riding, you need to make sure you calibrate it after the bike has come up or down to the temperature outside. So one of the things I can do here, we're here on my porch, I'll set my bike outside. That way it's already at the temperature when I go to ride in the morning. I'll calibrate it as soon as I start riding, and then I'll go off and teach the team and coach the team or do my ride. So those are three important things. So this is your normalized power video. If you have not watched the training stress score video yet, I strongly recommend doing that. These two numbers, the training stress score and the intensity factor, will really help you guys begin to put your training together, be able to recover using that TSS, and be able to understand, are you getting what you need to out of your riding? So until next time, enjoy riding your power meter, and remember to train smarter, not harder, and it is all about you.